Reconvene to open session at 6:04 p.m. What is the report on closed session per Government Code 54-957?
I'd like to move on expulsion case 2018.05, Education Code violation 48900C, D, K, S1, and 48915B, 1 and B2. I'd like to expel the remainder of the 2018-2019 school year and first semester of the 2019-2020 school year.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion, comments?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Urias will be abstaining.
I will be abstaining as well.
Motion passes.
Motion passes 3-0 with 2 abstentions.
And I'd like to move for expulsion case 2018.06, Education Code violation 48900, A1, A2, K.4, and 48915, A1E, 2. I'd like to expel the remainder of the 2018-2019 school year and first semester of the 2019-2020 school year.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or comments?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, I will abstain.
Abstain as well.
Motion passes 3-0.
I'd like to make a motion for expulsion case 2018.07, Education Code violation 48900, A1, A2, 0.4, and 48915, A1, A, and B2. I'd like to expel the remainder of the 2018-2019 school year and first semester of the 2019-20 school year, and upon return will be enrolled at Renaissance High School.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Again, I'm abstaining. I was not present.
abstaining as well. I was not present as well.
Motion passes. So, why don't we have Mr. Briggs lead the Pledge of Allegiance? He's trying to hide from me, but
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? I second.
Any discussion?
Any discussion or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. So now that we have that out of the way, I'd like to let everybody know that, or acknowledge that it's Black History Month in February, and it's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And with that, we will go into staff reports, and starting with Ms. Emily Chavez.
Santa Paula High School. In the College and Tourist Center, financial aid staff will assist students applying for FAFSA February 23rd, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Ventura College East Campus in Santa Paula. Major sports. Congratulations to girls basketball who made it to round 2 of CIF last Saturday. ASB. Students are looking forward to Winter Formal, a junior class fundraiser on February 16th. We had a successful lip sync rally last Friday, February 8th, which involved student and teacher participation. The freshman, sophomore, and senior classes will be hosting Valentine's Day activities, elementary school activities, at Barbara Webster. The Webster staff has been giving a series of parent and community informational meetings to educate our communities on the most effective and powerful practice parents and guardians can practice in order to support their children's successful academic career. These workshops are based on the work of John Hagee. At Blanchard, upcoming events. Blanchard is having their monthly family Blanchard movie night on Friday the 22nd at 6 p.m. Glen City. Glen City is proud to announce that Benjamin Flickinger Nava won their school spelling bee and will represent us at the county level. They are excited to continue to have great parent attendance at their monthly principal coffee chats. Graceville. The third graders are excited to be working on stop-motion animation projects with their teachers and Jessica Diaz, artist in residence from the Santa Paula Art Museum. The fourth grade students participated in the National Assessment of Educational Progress on February 5th. Each fourth grade student took one exam in either math, science, or reading. Assessments were administered on Chromebooks or pencil and paper test booklets. Fifth grade students took a study trip to UCSB on February 12th to explore the college campus and learn about college life. The trip was organized by Lori Arnold, the CTE coordinator, and school counselor Raul Aguilera. Parents at Graceville have been busy learning. About 25 parents have been participating in ESL classes for parents 3 days per week on the Phil campus. Parents also had the opportunity to learn from Ms. Coco Aguirre in her K through 2nd workshop series. And about 30 parents participated in the LCAP forum last Friday. McKevitt. McKevitt will be hosting an author named Greg Thrine on February 28th. On February 28th, McKevitt will also be hosting a Family Literacy Night, 5 to 6 p.m. Family Literacy Night is an evening that promotes literacy for the entire family. There will be several stations set up for the students and parents to engage in literacy activities. They will also be celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday with a Spirit Week, February 25th through March 1st. They will participate in Read Across America on March 1st. If any board members or community members are interested in volunteering, call McKevitt office. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Now we will go to the superintendent's report. Mr. Cora.
Thank you, Board President Ms. Frias. First of all, I want to say to Emily, thank you. You do a great job. It's great having you on our thing. I'd like to take this moment to ask everyone for a moment of silence for our second grade teacher, Judy Adele, who passed away a couple weeks ago from the Dell School. So at this time, we can just give a quick moment of silence. Thank you. For those of us who attended the memorial service on Sunday, it was an extremely sad day. Both her sons were there. One was from Australia, traveled all the way from Australia. And the family was very grateful for those staff members who weren't included there. So again, we will miss her. Okay. On another note, I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for bringing live streaming to our public meetings. Also, thank you to Bob Allen from KDTV for supporting us with the service. I'd also like to thank the parents who kind of encouraged us to do this. And I'd like to welcome those at home who are watching our first live stream board meeting. So first, Mr. Bob Allen's in the back. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Appreciate the service you provided. I provided the board with responses to questions in the email that were asked last couple of days, including some hard copies. I also wanted to let the board know that today I received a response from CDP attorney Peter Stubbs who verified the school safety plans need to be approved by their school site councils by March 1st, and that the board needs to approve the plans shortly thereafter, if possible before March 1st, but he said it's acceptable after March 1st, so the March 13th board meeting will bring back for approval. I also wanted to say very quickly congratulations to Ms. Gillette and one of her Renaissance High School students, Brian Benuedes, for earning 10th place out of 40 participants in the public speaking competition. Brian gave a 5-minute speech on confidence of students in themselves and their work. Brian had the speech memorized and understood he did an excellent job. So congratulations to you, Ms. Gillette, and to your students. Also, I want to thank the board for selecting the date to have our grand opening for the Isabel Science Building in the District Agricultural Center, also known as the District Farm. The date was selected for Saturday, March 30th. We have some time to plan to pull that together. It should be a great day. And also to those sitting here today, hopefully you'll be happy with this last one. I hope to have 100 padded chairs in this room for the March board meeting. So that was a request, and I just have to find a place to have that stored. So that's my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cora. To now the part of the meeting where the board really enjoys, and that's recognition of 2 employees a month. And this month, for Educator of the Month, it's Daniel Luther from Isabel Middle School. Mr. Briggs, you'll start.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, assistant superintendents. I'm Ron Briggs, principal of Isabel Middle School, and I'm honored tonight to present 2 wonderful individuals for Classified Employee of the Month and Educator of the Month. I'd like to present Daniel Luther. Daniel's been teaching at Isabel for 5 years, 6th grade math and science. He also teaches 6th grade Avid. The students adore Daniel and work hard in his classes. He has great ideas, works hard, and supports our students and staff. One teacher wrote, in his classroom, Daniel expertly maintains a balance of strong classroom management and encourages student discussion. His students both respect him and feel safe to go to him for help. Daniel also greatly supports his fellow staff members. He's been especially supportive of new teachers as they go to him for encouragement and advice. Among the staff, he is one of the most respected teachers and someone everyone knows they can go for encouragement. It's my first year at Isabel, and I too have been helped by Daniel with support and advice, but mostly his ability to be a great listener. I'd like to show gratitude and congratulate Daniel Luther, Isabel Middle School's Educator of the Month.
Just found out a couple minutes ago that I have to say something. So, every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on it, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. And that's by Rita Pearson. That's my goal as an educator, to make a difference, to make an impact in the lives of my students. I am honored and privileged to be a teacher. As a teacher, I have the unique opportunity to encourage my students along their journey in life. I get to support them as they persevere in the midst of challenge, and I have a front row seat to when they succeed. I must say that sometimes teaching is the most challenging, most frustrating, and sometimes even the most heartbreaking profession I know. But it is also the profession that provides hope for tomorrow, joy in the struggle, and displays powerfully the impact of changed lives. Thank you for this honor, and thank you for all that you all do in this room to support and encourage the teachers of Santa Paula as we strive to positively impact the students and families of our community.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to present you with a certificate. Now for classified employee of the month.
I would like to introduce Christy Henderson. Come on down. Christy is a fearless leader in the cafeteria. One of her colleagues wrote, "I nominate Christy for the cafeteria because she is always very positive with her staff and with the students. I always see her in a good mood and always ready and willing to help students and staff, and I truly admire her because she really loves what she does." I also received an email from a parent recently that said, "I would like to make a comment about the cafeteria staff. I was there having lunch with my daughter, and all of them were very kind and polite. Plus the food was really good. Looks like they're doing a great job." I personally would like to thank Christy for all her help and support. We've had numerous parent functions that we've hosted, and she and her staff always set out a nice spread of food and drinks. Additionally, recently we had an idea to increase the amount of students that eat lunch, which required her staff to organize 4 lunches instead of 2. And the result was we went from serving approximately 700 students a day to now we're serving over 1,100. So it's a big jump there. When I asked her if she could do this, if this was possible, she didn't flinch. She said, "Absolutely, no problem." And for all of these reasons and more, I'd like to thank and congratulate Christy Henderson, Isabel Middle School's classified employee.
I didn't know how to make anyways, I love my job, I love my coworkers. But thank you very much for.
On behalf of the board, we also have a certificate. At this time, we would like to take a 5-minute break so that you can greet our employees of the month, and we will resume in 5 minutes. Thank you.
So,
You're welcome. I told them all I wrote that for you. They said I didn't know how to write. Good job. It was so good they knew it was
Very nice to meet you.
So,
My blood pressure now. Yeah, now I'm gonna go back to the
how are you? Wait, is it still recording? How are you doing? I'm doing well. Nice to see you. Good, good. Where's he going to school next year? Where did he apply, I should say? What is that?
It's a college at Fresno State University. It's like this really wealthy family in Fresno.
Oh, a scholarship.
Yeah.
So if he gets that one, then he'll go to Fresno, not
Next year I might be
Already?
Lexi's already got a year and a
last year is when I did that college, a year
Lexi next to talk about how you ran insurance for a recent trip. That's so funny. But she's going to have like 35 units before she graduates. And most of her math is like the top calculus in college class.
They're a calculus. I know, but
Lexi wants to be like Lexi's right now. Okay? Saturday and when she doesn't get in there, she's going to go to
enough ladies. It is. It's really good. It was so funny. So one lady did hers. It was very nice. And then I did hers. And then I had a question and answer. What type of budget were you working with? And I don't know if I can get out. Well, my mom died and left me. Okay, I'm on my way. So I kept it at 12,000. And they asked Natalie what was your budget? About $5. Oh yeah. But it was just so funny her response. She wants to be environmental. She's amazing. That's what she wants to do.
Okay, we will proceed with our agenda. And the next topic will be public comments. So let's start with Jeanette Ortega.
First, I would like to thank Mr. Corn, the board, for listening and broadcasting SPUSD meetings live. This truly opens an opportunity for the parents, students, and community to take part on a regular basis. As this board goes into a new direction, away from its antiquated ways, we all look forward to amazing things to come for this district. For many years, it was run as a social club. Now, with new superintendent Cora and board members who really have the students' needs at its highest priority, this district can fix what is wrong and prevent continued wasted spending of over $200,000 on wrong decisions as stated by a board member in a special board meeting last week. Moving forward, in the last regular meeting, it was stated there were findings in the ASB funds at Santa Paula USD in the last audit to be conducted to show the parents requested an internal audit be conducted to show exactly where the problems are. You cannot fix it if you don't know exactly what the deficiencies are. I am again requesting the internal audit. I'm sure everyone is well aware of what is occurring in Ventura School District. I believe the audit will help uncover and address rumors of monies being misused for decades. It also will uncover exactly what the deficiencies are. I have heard of the ASB student president even being told it was not their place to question anything on how the ASB monies are spent or dispersed, as well as many rumors of misused funds. The findings have been stated in at least 3 prior audits, which show major problems, but nothing has ever been addressed. I believe it, as well as many other students and parents, an internal audit should take place, or I fear we will end up in the same situation as Ventura. Please don't let another year go by without this being addressed properly. Thank you.
Next speaker will be Patricia Zavala.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patricia Zavala, and I'm a parent of a student at the district. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the live streaming. I know we struggled a lot the last few meetings. I'm also a parent of a proud parent of a gender non-conforming child. And throughout this journey with my child, it was evident that in order for there to be inclusion, acceptance, and tolerance, training and education on the subject needed to take place. I asked the board to approve the LGBTQ training for the safety and inclusion of all students. And as you can see, we have a large amount of people here to support that. And it's time to move forward, and Title IX training will not suffice. We need more awareness on this, so that what happened to my child doesn't happen to any other child. or student in this district. That's all.
Thank you. Jean Randall.
Hello. I'm Jeannie Randall, and I'm a parent of a LGBTQ teenager. I want to say that I'm very happy to be here and to hear that the Santa Paula School District is considering to provide sensitivity training to the teachers and the administrators in the district. I have found that it's taken me a few years of dedication to learning about LGBTQ identities, and I have participated in discussion groups sponsored by the Los Angeles Gender Center and Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. In my experience with the high school, which is not Santa Paula, I have found that there are very supportive and accepting teachers and administrators, and also non-accepting. In a school environment where children are due a basic need of feeling safe and acknowledged as a person, and by the identity that they identify as. When a child is not acknowledged as they identify as he, him, or she, her, she, or they, them, it causes extreme anxiety and a feeling of frustration and pain in the child. With proper sensitivity training, teachers and administrators can learn more about how to properly address and be supportive and respectful of all students. No student should ever be singled out, bullied, harassed, condemned, or disrespected. The training should include how there should be a school-wide no bullying, no harassment allowed policy with follow-through and support. The more we as parents, teachers, administrators support and respect each and every child, the better the outcome for the child and the world. So those are my comments. I asked a physician at LA Children's Hospital who wrote an amazing letter that I'll present to the board. I'd like to read that letter. It is from Jonathan Morris. He's a doctor. He's the assistant professor of clinical pediatrics, Division of Adolescent and Young Adult Medicine at Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, Keck School of Medicine, University of Southern California. Dear the Santa Paula Unified School District, my name is Jonathan Morris. I'm a pediatrician by training and also as a specialist in adolescent and young adult health. Throughout my specialty training, I have developed particular expertise in caring for youth who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning LGBTQ. My current work focuses primarily on caring for transgender and gender nonconforming youth at the Center for Trans Youth Health and Development at the Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, the largest clinic of its kind for youth in the world. I have personally also conducted many trainings within our own hospital and out in the community on increasing awareness and cultural humility around the LGBTQ population. Youth who identify as LGBTQ experience many health disparities and unique challenges when compared to other youth. Many of these disparities are attributed to the minority stress model, as they experience harassment, bullying, and discrimination at much higher rates when compared to youth in general. The resulting psychological and physical stress and stigma that comes with identifying as a sexual or gender minority can lead to increased rates of substance abuse, risky sexual behavior, anxiety, depression, and other negative health outcomes. I'm going to skip part of it because it's a little bit long, but schools are in a unique position to potentially change the life trajectory for LGBTQ youth. Youth spend a large portion of their day in the school setting and are subjected to the environment created by students, teachers, staff, and administrators. In order to ensure that this environment is as supportive as possible, schools must provide training for everyone involved on cultural humility and increase the awareness of LGBT youth. The concept of cultural humility, unlike cultural competency, is grounded in the fact that an individual will never fully know the experience of others. Instead, an individual can recognize this lack of all knowing and be given tools to empower others to live in their own unique, authentic identity. In my field of adolescent health, many providers have a passion that is driven by social justice to ensure the best for our patients. We are driven to recognize and use our own areas of privilege to lift up and support the aspects of oppression in others. In my opinion, trainings in LGBTQ, cultural awareness, and humility should not be optional. They should be truly an investment in the future of your students. You have the ability to create a healthy and affirming environment for youth who may not be supported in other settings of their lives. Thank you for everything you do for the students that you serve for, and for ensuring safe and supportive learning environments for all youth in your district. Please do not hesitate to reach out for any further information or questions. Sincerely, Jonathan Boris, MD. Thank you.
Robin Gillette.
Hello and good evening to members of the Board of Trustees, Superintendent Cora, Assistant Superintendents, Directors, and guests in the audience. I'm up here this evening to publicly thank the Optimist Club and the Rotary for their generous donation that they gave to Renaissance High School last week. Both clubs give us the opportunity to receive a donation for our efforts in volunteering at the Pumpkin Patch. This is something that my husband, myself, and students from Renaissance High School have been doing for probably the last 10 years. I can go back at least 10 years that I remember. So these donations play a vital role in our positive reinforcement and scholarship programs at RHS. And without this type of support, we would not be able to do some of the acknowledgments that we do get to do. So I want to apologize for not being here to accept the check, but it was for good cause. I was out shopping with a bunch of future leaders, business leaders of America, getting them ready for business attire. So I was both at, whom I also need to thank would be Burlington Coat Factory and JCPenney's, because they always give us a nice little discount. So I was playing hooky for a good cause with the kiddos. And thank you, Mr. Cora, for acknowledging the success of the program. It is really appreciated. And also, I wish to thank the Board of Directors and for your support through our mosque visit. I want to share with you a comment that the chairperson stated that he has never seen so much support at a kickoff than he did that Sunday afternoon. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your help and your support and your participation. He said that, and that those of the community members that were present, he said that it was remarkable, and he has been doing this as a lead for many years. So I wish to thank all of you and those community members who are always stepping up and supporting us at Renaissance High School, because we just can't do it unless we have you. So thank you. You are the village.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. We do have one more public comment that I will read on behalf of Laura Orozco. Good evening. My name is Laura Orozco, proud Fillmore High School alum, and I fully support the implementation of LGBTQ trainings in our schools and community. I strongly believe that providing access to LGBTQ programming and increasing awareness in our schools is one of the first steps in supporting our LGBTQ family. I grew up in a Mexican Catholic household, and although my parents have always been accepting and inclusive, these topics are often not discussed in our communities. Frequently, they are avoided because we do not have the tools to have open conversations around it. In terms of my experience, I didn't have the opportunity to educate myself on LGBTQ issues until my 4th year in college in my abnormal psychology class. I found it disappointing to learn that my institution and professor would add these issues as a topic in that course. There is absolutely nothing abnormal about the LGBTQ community. We are all the same, we are all human. Our neighbors, families, students, and community deserve better. Enrolling in an LGBTQ training session at my university made a huge impact on my everyday life, and I only wish I could have been part of something. And I only wish I could have been part of something similar at a younger age. Our daughters, sons, sisters, brothers, fathers, mothers, friends, and our community deserve effective training sessions that will advocate for LGBTQ equality. This all helps educate the public, especially our schools, about LGBTQ issues. I've attended similar trainings, and they are led by professionals that have years of experience and seek to improve the lives of our LGBTQ family by working to increase understanding and encourage the implementation of inclusive policies and practices in our schools. I support the implementation of LGBTQ trainings in our schools and community and look forward to hearing how I can get involved. Sincerely, Laura Orozco. That's our last public comment. So we will proceed with our meeting to presentations. And the first one will be Positive School Climate, Bullying Prevention. Mr. Corbs.
Yes, at this time I'd like to introduce Ms. Catherine McGeary, Executive Director of Special Education and Student Services, and staff who will provide an update on district-wide actions focused on improving school climate culture in our schools. Ms. McGeary.
Good evening, board and our executive cabinet, as well as audience members, students, and community members. We are very pleased to come together today to provide an overview of the positive climate initiatives that we have in our district. I'll wait for the slides to be up. So we do have 2 very specific goals in our district. One is that we will provide a safe and positive environment in which our students to learn and thrive. And we will also provide safe campuses and the tools needed for teaching and learning to occur at our highest level. We have had several initiatives in the district for a couple of years, but this year we've added 2 new additions, and I would like to bring on our 2 new mental health counselors. We have Mr. Jason Klaus and Ms. Rachel Forbes, who will be presenting an overview of the services they provide to our students throughout the district, along with some statistics about students they've served so far.
Good evening. So Rachel and I are here to present a very brief snapshot of the mental health counseling program that we've been able to get off the ground since we were hired back in September, October. And the first infographic that we'd like to put up just to provide that snapshot starts with our referral process and the referrals that we started to receive in the month of December. But before that, we spent about 2 months conducting a pretty comprehensive needs assessment with all of the schools so that we could develop an individualized program that was going to meet the needs of the students of the district. So what we had done prior to December was develop that needs assessment and conduct some mappings on how the flow of the referral process was going to go, and also can create our referral forms and our consent forms for parents, and some documentation tools. And we discussed how we were going to measure the work that we've done with students and families. Some of those duties have included stakeholder collaboration. We've collaborated with behavioral health and Phoenix Schools, and we've done some collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club so that we can model our program as close to Ventura County Behavioral Health and some of the county organizations that we currently collaborate with. And we've also developed some trainings here for staff and our district campus supervisors regarding mental health awareness. And we're going to conduct some other trainings for instructional aides and other school staff in the next week or so. Most of our time is done in our secondary role. That includes working with students that have been identified as recommended to us as requiring more intensive counseling services, meaning some more frequent counseling services. And a small fraction of these students have been identified as extremely high risk and have experienced psychiatric crisis and emergencies that we've been asked to support those students and staff on site. And that is exactly our primary role, which is to ensure the safety of the students when they're in a mental health crisis situation, where we collaborate with school resource officers and their family, so that they can get any immediate mental health needs in that moment to keep the students safe. So in December, when we launched our referral process, we received 15 referrals. And in January, when we came back from our break, we received 40 referrals. And we had a very busy month. And in February, we received 5, but that number is just going up by the week because the word is getting out that we're able to act as a mobile crisis team and a mobile counseling team, so that we can work with these students, whether in school or at home if they're on home hospital or in a public area, so that they can get their needs met. One of the other primary roles we have is to act as a bridge between the time when they were referred to a county service, such as behavioral health or the Human Services Agency, so that there's no gaps in service delivery if they're in need of immediate therapeutic services. And as you can see on this bar graph, directly above future planning, indicates the number of students that we're currently working with and are active on our caseload. Santa Paula High School at this time is in the running for the most students, and as well as Glen City and also Isabel and Vidal. So some of the future planning that we've been discussing with our administrator and our counseling department, the health and counseling department, include mental health awareness training for instructional assistants. We're having a staff member come down from the Department of Education at a date to be announced to conduct youth mental health first aid to our campus supervisory staff. And that's free. In May 2019, we have Mental Health Awareness Month, and in September 2019 is Suicide Awareness Month. So we're going to bring awareness to some of these issues that are. What we want to do is just bring awareness to suicide and also mental health. Just go to, is there any questions at this point? So the next slide indicates some more specific services that we would refer some of our students and families to that are in our community. That includes Logrando Beanstar, which is one of our primary referral sources, because Miguel has the ability to connect some of these students to ECBH services very quickly, expedite the process. Go to the next slide.
So this next slide is just an overview of our service plan and services that we've provided thus far. We have worked on social emotional programs and curriculum development. We are part of a subcommittee for establishing district-wide suicide risk protocol and documentation. As stated earlier, we provide therapy and case management for students with prior psychiatric hospitalization, high-risk students, and then also students who have been referred to community agencies but have yet to access those services. Also, we provide workshops and trainings for staff, teachers, and students. Consultation and collaboration with students, parents, guardians, counselors, teachers, and other school personnel. We provide support and interventions with the school attendance review board to the students and families, and then participate as appropriate in IEPs, SSTs, and evaluations.
Any questions?
If there's no questions, I want to quickly say, I want to give Mr. Geary and whoever else is on that interview panel, because we landed 2 superstars. So, good job. Thank you.
Superstars. And our next slide will show just a couple of the other services that Rachel and Jason provide. They also work with our school counselors when there's a crisis in the district, providing group therapy and or crisis management. Most recently, unfortunately, in one of our schools, we've had 2 crises back-to-back, dealing with some losses of parent and staff. And so they are there on a regular basis whenever we need them, and they really have become a mobile support team for the entire district. They were also able to help us when there were adults and or staff members that were going through some very difficult times. And so we're really very pleased to have them with us and starting to help to recreate our safe climate for all of our students and staff. Our next slide, please. I'd like to welcome now Catherine Brenner and her very enthusiastic group of interns. If you're not familiar with restorative justice, it is the premier way of helping students to work through any conflict or disciplinary issues that they may have. And Catherine and her team have recently, in fact this year, been asked to double their efforts in our district. They were previously just at the high school, and now they are diligently working to bring restorative justice to our middle school. And with the help of interns who are mostly recent graduates from Santa Paula High School, they're here to help us with our younger students as peer counselors, tutors, and facilitators, and I'll let them kind of walk you through what their process is.
Hello. Well, I'm introduce I'd like to introduce the team that I'm very proud to work with. So there's Emily, there's Catherine, obviously, and there's Erica, and oh my God, Esme. So stop. And I'm Matthew. So we've been doing restorative justice at Santa Paula High School for about 4 years. I'm very thankful to be part of that. We do restorative justice. It's a conflict resolution program that what we do is we take what some people call the frequent flyers. What are the frequent flyers? The frequent flyers, I like to call them misunderstood students who tend to get into a little bit more conflict, and we bring the other individual that may have been harmed, and we talk about that, and we try to resolve it. So restorative we use as I like to use restorative justice, the term restorative to repair, and then justice to heal. So to repair and heal. I'd like to introduce Esme to talk.
This process that we have been doing has impacted me in so many ways. I have learned so much in this process, not just from Catherine, who has been teaching us more about restorative justice, but also from the students who have participated in the community building circles and restorative circles. For an example, at Blaisdell Middle School, we have done a community building circle with a group of 6th grade girls. One of the girls told us that they enjoy doing these circles because it's an opportunity for them to get their bonding more together, and it's something that they wouldn't have found in the outside of the bonding circle. They have all agreed that they would love doing more circles like this to for them to bond, and it gives them a better friendship and stronger. Hearing them say that impacts me so much, knowing that I'm helping a couple of girls better their friendship and having a better bond. And it makes me see that if I had an opportunity to do this at Isbell or at the high school, I would have jumped at the chance. I would have wanted something like this to help me keep a better bond with teachers, my friends, and with my parents. Now I'm going to read some of the bullet points in the handout that we passed out to you. What the numbers don't tell you is that restorative fields students feel the difference and are now asking for community building circles and restorative circles. The Isbell and Santa Paula High School facility reports that they have appreciated the opportunity to get to know their colleagues and when they participate in the community building circles during the facility meetings. Faculty meetings. When those 5 to 10% of students whose behavior is leading to academic failure, we need to lean in and ask more questions. What is motivating these students to make these choices that are leading to failure?
I'm very honored and very thankful to be part of such a wonderful team and an impact that we make on these students' lives. It's something that I take very seriously and I love with all my heart. If it wasn't for Catherine Benner, restorative justice, I would not be in the position I am in life. I was one of those students you could call I call a misunderstood student, a student that wouldn't necessarily know how to speak their feelings as well as others and communicate that. So they would make decisions, or I would make decisions that I knew weren't appropriate. And I'm very thankful for Catherine Benner to give me the opportunity to be a bright individual. Thank you so much, Catherine. And thank you.
Just some statistics that were provided for us. We've gone through 116 community building circles, 950 Santa Paula High School students have gone through at least one restorative circle. 60 Isabel students have participated in more than one circle. 21 circles have been facilitated at both Santa Paula High School and Isabel, 15 and 16 respectively. 327 students interviews have taken place. 256 of those at Santa Paula High School and 72 at Isabel. We have made an impact on several lives, not just our facilitators, but our students who are participating and now seeking out these resources for crisis and or conflict resolution. So we're very proud of this program and we hope that you are too. So our next slide was just an overview of the Title IX treatment that has already been provided to our administrators, our campus supervisors, and our security staff, along with all of our current contractors working with students on our campuses. We were provided with a presentation and the initial training from our legal team that now have been sufficiently trained that we are now providing it to a wider number of our staff and also our contractors. So it continues to move forward while absolutely not the end and or the end all be all. We started with that and now we're moving on to training of our staff in being more sensitive and more culturally aware along with bringing some awareness to our parents. And so with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Sutton. She's here with the Coalition for Family Harmony, and we'll start on the next slide, and she'll present some services that the Coalition for Family Harmony offers and other resources that they might be able to provide to us.
Thank you, and good evening, and thank you for having me here, and thank you to everyone who came up and spoke with their comments. I see a lot of youth out there, and it's wonderful to see. Again, I'm Dr. Caroline Pritchett Sutton. I'm the Executive Director of Coalition for Family Harmony, and we are proposing a broad spectrum of services to you to support students, to support faculty, and staff, and also family. We have over a 40-year history in the County of Ventura of offering quality and successful services in the area of domestic violence and sexual assault. We offer domestic violence safe house, transitional housing, the only rape crisis center in Ventura County, and a very successful and needed LGBTQ+ program for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and trauma. Today I'm going to be highlighting many of the services that I proposed to you, but I will also be spending a little bit more time on two of those services, one the LGBTQ plus group, as well as the cultural sensitivity training. We have several MOUs and contracts across the county that really speak to our success in this area. We have been working in schools for over a decade. We have a long history with many of the Ventura County Unified, Oxnard Unified, Simi Valley Unified School Districts, and we currently have a contract on the campus of Channel Islands University to provide advocacy and to provide support for victims who come forward, not only students, but faculty as well and staff, who are harassed, who are suffering from sexual assault trauma, and who are victims of domestic violence as well. We really believe that when students are supported, they thrive. They succeed in the classroom. There's a lot of research around it. There's no question that many students are supported at home. And as you heard earlier, they are here the majority of their time. So it really is a place where at school that students can feel that support and is going to improve culture and climate of the school. We have therapists who are highly trained in trauma, who are highly trained in issues of LGBTQ plus community with youth. We see that when we go into schools and provide cultural sensitivity training, we are hoping to eliminate the misgendering of students. We are hoping to eliminate bullying and pressure, accidental outing of students, or students being told what restroom they need to use. The cultural sensitivity training really applies practical knowledge. It applies information that our facilitators, our clinical-based therapists have researched and are bringing to the table, and allowing faculty, staff, students, and parents, because parents need the education as well, to gain the knowledge so that it becomes a climate of support, trust, and that students don't feel that pressure anymore. Our LGBTQ plus group, we currently have one group going on in Oxnard right now. It is an advocacy and support group. It is called the Thrives Group, and it is thriving. And it is a group that has been almost there for about a year. And the students are not only advocating for their rights, but they are also being clinically supported by our trained therapists and facilitators. So much so that they were the foundation for a school-wide survey that faculty and staff took to address issues that were common in the LGBTQ youth area. And that survey led to cultural sensitivity training at the high school, and came out, faculty were very happy to be able to have the information. When people have information, they're educated, they feel that they are more comfortable and can have more discussions with the students, have more discussions with the parents around the issues that are really affecting them. Again, the support that we're giving students is going to allow them to have more support on campus. They are going to thrive in the classroom. Many times students are not safe to be themselves at home. And here at school is where we hope that they'll be able to feel that safety, to have those safe spaces to go and speak with somebody. We are really happy with the work that we have done. We feel that this would be a benefit to the Santa Paula Unified School District. And as you can see with the youth that are here today, they want it and they need it. And our record speaks for itself in the county, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that you might have. We're also proposing other services such as the Teen Dating Violence Program, which is an evidence-based 12-week program on campus. And you'll find that many of these programs intersect. So youth are suffering with teen dating violence in all forms, and our LGBTQ plus youth group will also address those issues of healthy relationships and healthy boundaries. We're also offering crisis counseling, domestic violence support groups, and an array of services to really support the needs of the students. So I thank you very much, and if you have any questions, feel free.
I'd like to open it up if there are any questions. We were provided with some literature and the statistics from our restorative justice, along with the pamphlet that was created by the restorative justice program. So I want to thank all of our presenters. I really appreciate you sending me all of your slides, putting everything together, and coming to speak for our staff and our board and our audience.
Yes, I would just like to say that I am very happy to hear that the restorative justice program is now at ISBEL. I think if we catch these kids before they fall through the cracks, that we are ensuring success for the future. Our goal is to keep kids in school, and we know the stats show that restorative justice keeps kids in school and lowers the suspension rates and expulsion rates. So this is good news that we're now at Isabel. Also, as far as the mental health counseling, I spoke with Dr. Rick at Vidal. He indicated he got a lot of support from his fellow counselors after the death of a recent teacher. So the mental health helps not only the children, our kids, but adults as well. And I'm really glad that we have these programs, because mental health should not be a stigma. It should not be a stigma, and I think that with the parent education, perhaps we can get to the point where it's something to deal with and is not such a stigma, because when you have healthy kids and everything's going along, it's great. But some of us may have kids that aren't as healthy and need extra help. And so it's nice to know that there's resources on campus. And Rachel and Jason mentioned Miguel Rodriguez, who speaks Spanish. He can reach the Spanish-speaking community. This is all wonderful, and I'm just glad to hear that we are moving forward and expanding our programs, because mental health is an issue starting at a very young age.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right. We can see in our dashboard that our suspension rates are dropping, and so that is proof positive that the restorative justice along with the mental health and basic wraparound services are helping our students to stay in school.
Does the board have any comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our second presentation tonight will be Student Achievement Mathematics K through 5. Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight we're going to provide an update on student achievement in mathematics for grades kindergarten through 5th grade. We'll begin with a brief introduction about our adopted math curriculum, math expressions, and then move into assessment data and student achievement for local and state assessments. I'd like to begin by introducing Mrs. Kristen Bennett. Mrs. Bennett is our elementary Common Core curriculum coordinator and is instrumental in providing professional development, guidance, and support in the implementation of our elementary curriculum.
Thank you. It's nice to have a chance to speak to the board. Math Expressions is our adopted curriculum. We're in our 4th year with Math Expressions. It's a research-based curriculum that's aligned to the Common Core state standards. And the philosophy is that it's designed to help students build deep understanding with inquiry-based mathematics. And what inquiry-based means is a program that's going to encourage students to ask questions and to explain their thinking regarding what they're learning. It does this in there's 5 main components to it. There's contextual learning. When we were younger, we may have learned math in a very procedural format. We may have heard the question, when am I going to use this? Math Expressions does a good job of connecting the math to real world situations, even from a very young age, so students can see why they should be learning this and how it's applicable to real life. There's multiple strategies. There are multiple ways to solve a problem. They are able to pick and choose from
method that makes the most sense with them, and then build fluency with that method. There's coherence in the program. It's built between grade levels, so they go from, there's connections, not only from one content or one subject in math across the grade level, but what they learn in first grade prepares them for second grade and so on. There's lots of opportunities for discourse. This means students are expected to talk to each other. They explain their thinking, they ask questions of each other, and this is really important, especially for our English learners, that they're talking about their learning, having conversations about it, even starting in kindergarten. There's also a strong technology component. Students have resources online, they can play games to support learning, they can access videos with different information regarding the lessons that they're learning, and they can also take assessments online.
So this is what math
looked like when we were in school, perhaps. You had a worksheet of problems like this, and not necessarily a connection to anything else. So this slide's going to show how we learned mathematics and the difference between how math expression promotes it. So math expressions may start with a program like this, but it also asks students to write a word problem to explain it, or to create a model to show what they're learning. So to start with the model side, one model might look like this. There's two whole, the problem's 3/4 times 2. So we have two whole figures, and 3/4 of each of those are shaded in. Another model might be a number line. And so for the first one section on that number line, 3/4 of that is colored in. And again, for the second, 3/4 of that is colored in. When you're using that model, you can count the squares. You can see easily that it's 6/4. 3/4 2 times equals 6/4. You can also manipulate those orange squares. So you can now see that 6/4 is equal to 1 1/2. If you're using those models, it makes that idea of changing those fractions around and the factor equivalent very understandable to students. And then they take this learning and put it in a real world connection, which may look like this problem. You have a cookie recipe, you're making cookies for your class, you need 3/4 of a cup of flour. I need to double that recipe because that's not going to be enough cookies for my class, so how much flour would I need? So they're asked to take those problems, make a real world connection, and really dig in deep to explain their thinking to each other. Next slide. So for the past 3 years, we've been gathering data. Year 1 of math expressions, we identified common end of chapter assessments for all students in grades K through 5th grade. So regardless of what school kids attend in our district, our 6 elementary schools, all students take common assessments in mathematics at the end of each chapter. That allows us to aggregate data, to take a look, like this graph shows, how our students are doing by grade level district-wide, as well as disaggregate data by school sites, by standard, look at error analysis on each assessment. So again, we identified common assessments 3 years ago. We began by entering the assessment data into our data system. And what you see here is 3 years worth of data beginning in 2015, 16, 17, 17, 18. And I do want to say the data for 18, 19 is data that we've collected thus far. It's 2 out of 5 assessments. Before we begin, I'd like to direct your attention down to the bottom of the slide. It says needs improvement with a red square there. We've identified needs improvement as scoring 0 through 59% correct on the assessments. The yellow is progressing, identified as 60 to 79%. So again, red, 0 through 59, yellow, 60 through 79, and blue, 80% to 100%. So again, I'll direct your attention to 2015-16. The blue part of the graph reads that 73.76% of students in kindergarten scored 80%
or above on end of chapter assessments. 15.31% in 15-16 scored between 60 and 79%, and 10.93 scored 0 through 59%. Please keep in mind that these are different groups of students as you progress through the years. These are kindergarten cohorts. But what you can see, 15-16 to 17-18, close to 3/4 of our kindergarten students, our youngest learners, are scoring 80% or above. And we have about 10% of our students scoring at that needs improvement. And again, 18-19 is so far 2 out of 5 assessments. Okay, next slide. First grade, very similar. In 15-16, 61.41% of our students scored at the achieving level, 80% or above. You can see, again, we're looking for big trends and patterns here, knowing that there are different groups of students. Last year, 69.46% of our students scored achieving. And it's also important to note, during the 17-18 school year, our district lost 15 instructional days with the Thomas Fire and the inclement weather associated with that. And we were still able to show some incremental growth in spite of our students losing so many instructional days. And we attribute that to our teachers and the hard work they did coming back from the devastation of those fires and really focusing in on curriculum. You'll see here from kindergarten to first grade, we're still at about that 11% in the red band of students need improvement. So if you go to second grade, next slide. You'll see that we have a decrease. We're at about 50% of our students in 17-18, 49.71, scoring achieving, with about 50% of the students scoring at the lower bands. The red band doubles from about 10% to 20%. So it asks the question, what happens between first and second grade? What are the expectations of standards? What we do know, and Kristen pointed out as well, is that regrouping is introduced in second grade. And it's taking a look at those skills, how we're teaching those skills. Back in the day, I know when we went to school, we borrowed from a neighbor with regrouping. And with conceptual understanding of mathematics, it really requires students to understand number sense and knowing that each digit represents a quantity and that we don't borrow. It depends what place value we borrow from. Wherever we could be borrowing 10, we could be borrowing 100. So we're going to take a look at the standards in between those 2 grade levels and what's required. Also, we're thinking about summer school. Do we need a bridge class for those primary learners coming out of first to second grade to address that doubling of the needs improvement? Let's catch it in the primary levels. And that's what having 3 years of data is allowing us to do, is really take a look at where those gaps are. With our data information system, we can identify who these kids are. We can identify what standards they're struggling in. We have a report that is an error analysis report to identify the types of errors that they're making based on the answers that they chose. Next slide.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Between those 2 grades where there's a difference, is the second grade, as they progress, is there more reading in these books, you think?
I would say that because of the extensive word problems, that the literacy level is increasing as well. You're starting to see probably longer word problems, multiple step word problems, so absolutely. When you have a curriculum like math expressions or next board meeting, we'll be talking about 612 mathematics, like college preparatory mathematics, you'll notice that it looks like a literature. That the literacy is pretty heavy in the curriculum. So yes, I think that's accurate to say that as the grade levels progress, that the literacy requirements or the literacy demands also increase. Absolutely. When you look at third grade, I'll start with, again, this is our local data, math expressions data. And in second grade, we saw that it was a 50-50. You can see in the 17-18 data, the top band is now at 31%. And we're looking at about a 70-30. So again, we're seeing what's happening in third grade. Notice that in 17-18, the red band now goes from about 20 to 35. But also notice data from 15-16 to 17-18. We are reducing the percentage of students at that lower band. So we are making progress. Important to note, this year, our third graders, they are the first cohort of students who have experienced the math expressions curriculum, the Common Core State Standards, since kindergarten. So they've received this conceptual understanding, the word problems, the multiple representations, beginning in their first year in school. And if you click again, you can see what we are now able to do is take a look at, that's really small, I apologize, you have it on the board agenda as well. You can take a look at our local assessment data compared to the CASP state assessment data. And the state assessment data up at the top right-hand corner, and look at the percentage of students met or exceed. In 15-15, you're looking at the blue band and the green band. That's at 25%. 16-17, 31. 17-18, 41%. So we are seeing an increase in the number of students who are meeting or exceeding standards in third grade. So we're taking a look at that. On the CASP assessment, we are seeing a decrease in the percentage of students who are not meeting standards. When you look at our local assessment data and CASP data, if you look at 17-18 data down in math expressions at 31.52, compare it to the 17-18 data for CASP, 41%, we're close. 31%, scoring 80% or above on our assessments. When they took the end of the year test, 41% scored. So they actually scored higher on the state assessments than we would have predicted on our own local assessments. So we're continuing to look at that data. Next slide. Same thing for fourth grade. You can see, again, for 17-18, we're at about 35.5% achieving. Thank you. With that bottom band at 31.07, we have a lot of work to do. You can see that we're not satisfied with the percentage of students that we have scoring at 80% or above. But you will see from 15-16 to 17-18, the red bands are shrinking. So again, now that we have data, what are we doing with it? Are we using the data to identify students, identify standards? If you can zoom back out and click again, you'll see how our local assessment data next to our state assessment data, 15-16. You look at the blue and red band, 17% of our students met or exceeding in fourth grade, 20% in 16-17, and 21 in 17-18. You see the percentage go down as the grade levels go up. You do see the bottom band shrinking a bit, but again, too many students not meeting or exceeding standards. When you look at the CASP data from 17-18 at 21%, if you zoom back out and you look at our local assessment scores for 17-18 at 26.38, it's pretty close. So what this is telling us is that we're starting to see a relationship. I wouldn't call it a correlation yet, but a relationship between the percentage of students scoring 80% or above and state assessment scores. And we've been asking ourselves, and we've been putting data in the system to see, can the end of chapter assessments serve as an indicator of how students might score at this end of the year test? We're beginning to see a relationship. If you can move to 5th grade. Again, you'll see 17, 18, I think we're at 26.38% of the students. Again, we're only 2 assessments in for 18, 19, 2 out of, I want to say 7 assessments, 38.83. Again, with the lower bands, 3 years ago, 58.63, and the red band compared to 48.58. We're making progress, but still not enough students meeting or exceeding standards. We have a lot of work to go. And if you zoom out and look at the state assessment data, you can see that for 17. Actually, I'll start with 15, 16. 15, 16, when our 5th graders took the test, we had 17% of our students meet or exceed standard, compared to the next year, 20%, and then the following at 21. So we're making slower incremental growth as the grade levels go up. I will say that kids who have not had this conceptual type of teaching with mathematics, the higher the grades, the more kids are struggling, is what we're seeing. And it has to do with assumptions within the standards. The Common Core state standards assume that students have been receiving instruction in these standards since kindergarten. So we're seeing those gaps widen as the grade levels go up. Next slide. So we're really taking a look at what type of intervention courses do we need to offer. What we know is the answer is you don't pull kids out of core. There's numerous research studies that say kids need not exposure but access to grade level rigorous curriculum, but they need support. So how do we provide that support during the school day, as well as account for intervention to fill those gaps? And when I share some of these summer school plans and Year 5 implementation support, I'll speak to that. But I'm going to turn it back over to Kristen to talk about the type of teacher support that Educational Services in the district has provided year 1 through 4 of implementation of this curriculum.
So when we first got this curriculum, as you can imagine, there was a big change for teachers. So for the first 3 years that we had the curriculum, we had a lot of publisher support. We really dug into the changes in the curriculum, how things were taught, digging into those 5 elements, the discourse, the real-world connections that I spoke about earlier, and providing support with that for teachers. We sent teachers to math conferences. We had support from the Ventura County Office of Education, and we had several days of training available at the district for teachers. This year, we're still sending teachers to math conferences, and we have some training that we're doing through VICO. We have a training coming up in February. We're sending some 5th grade teachers to a training on how to attack board problems with their students. And then we're providing lots of opportunities for teachers to co-plan and co-teach with our district math TOSA. We're also providing some classroom learning blocks where we're walking through, looking at instruction and seeing how the things we've learned in those first 3 years are being implemented in classrooms. Additionally, we're sharing some of the data analysis that Ms. Shefferly just shared with you, and sharing some of that data with principals and teachers so we can dig into how we've grown in the program so far and identify some of those needs so we can really target instruction for students.
Looking forward, like Kristen said, we provided a lot of pull-out professional development the first 3 to 4 years to give teachers the opportunity to learn the curriculum and introduce them to the instructional shifts that are necessary to transition. Year 5, we're looking to send out a survey and hear from our teachers. We know that different teachers are at different places right now, and we need to provide differentiated professional development. So we'll send out a survey. Teachers, what do you need? What could you use additional professional development on? In addition, look at the data. Are there some skills that our teachers need additional support? Are kids struggling with fractions? We know that in 5th grade, we saw the percentages go down in meeting or exceeding standards. What we know in 5th grade, percentages, fractions, and decimals. And not only do you know how to solve the problems for a fraction and a decimal, you have to explain it. You have to write a word problem. You have to represent it in multiple ways. That's difficult. And so we need to provide support in that. Second bullet from Nevada, now that we have data, we need to dig back into data teams and provide some training on how to analyze and respond to achievement data now that we have it. It's back. Third, we're looking at a structured walkthrough protocol, like an instructional rounds. That's a walkthrough protocol for teachers and administrators, where we basically open up schools and we look for best practices and patterns and trends within and across grade levels in schools. Sometimes we assume that certain practices are happening at all schools or in all classrooms and all grade levels. It allows for that walkthrough. And fourth, providing teachers the opportunity to engage in lesson study. It's a Japanese lesson study model where teachers get together, they identify a lesson. They plan the lesson together. First round, I go in, I teach it with my colleagues who help me plan it. I step out, we get feedback. How did that lesson go? Did the kids respond how we thought they would? We huddle together, we make changes based on student achievements, student response to learning. Second teacher goes in and teaches it. We come out, feedback. Third teacher goes in and teaches it. So it's a highly successful professional development model that shifts from the pull-out model, the sit and get, to really getting into classrooms and allowing teachers to collaborate and plan together. So that's what we're looking at for year 5. We'll send out a survey to get feedback as to what direction we need to go in based on data. And as far as student support, we are offering after-school interventions. All of our principals on their school websites have listed the interventions that are being provided at their schools under intervention support. Some of them are under for parents. Our teachers also have students in small groups, small group math instruction. We have the PE period with many of our schools utilizing additional time in PE to pull small groups. Our curriculum, like Kristen mentioned, has digital support, my personal trainer, where students can get online and play math games and computerized math games that are adaptive based on the content that they're learning in class. Many of our schools have purchased supplemental math programs, Mind Math, AR Math, that students have additional time within the school day to go on to math problems to fill those gaps. All of our grade levels, grades 3 through 8 and grade 11, we have them administer at least 2 IABs, interim assessment blocks, in English, language arts, and mathematics. Those are mini exams that CASP has produced that acquaint students with the types of problems that they're going to see on the end of the year test. They have the ability to interact with the hot tools and look at the format. And for the first time this year, we will receive data back on those IABs. There's also practice tests available through the CASP website that our teachers can utilize. The one-to-one Chromebooks. For many of our schools, they just didn't have the opportunity, our kids didn't have the opportunity to utilize technology on a daily basis, to take exams on the computer, And I was talking to Katie Miller, phenomenal teacher up at Vidal School. And we were talking about technology and the paper test. And she says, you know, gosh, Chrissy, I have the kids take the test on paper pencil. And I get scores. High scores. Then I have them take the test digitally. The scores drop significantly. With the integration, and she's a third grade teacher, with the integration of Chromebooks, they're now giving students additional opportunities to engage with technology. We haven't even seen, you know, what technology integration on a daily basis can do for student achievement, because we haven't had it. So this is the first year we are one-to-one in third grade across the district. By testing time, we will be one-to-one in grades 3, 4, and 5. One-to-one 6 through 12 in English language arts. So kids are finally having the opportunity to engage with technology. Our youngest learners were 2-to-1 iPads in grades TK, K, and 1. And like I mentioned earlier, we're looking for what additional summer school options we can offer in the area of mathematics, especially in the primary grades, to fill that initial gap. We know how important that is, as well as the upper grades. The right-hand side, parent support. We've had the math workshops with Gary, Coco, and Gary. Now on the district webpage, our homepage, under For Parents, you'll see resources, online resources, and instructions for parents to help their kids log on to the digital components of our new curriculum at home. It also has specific websites, and again, our principals have posted the interventions offered, and what we're looking forward to in 1920. Mrs. Ramirez, Gina Ramirez, is researching a program for Family Science Night, and it looks really similar to what we do for, Family Math Nights, which look very similar to what we're doing for Family Science Night. So the thought is Family Science Night in fall, Family Math Nights in spring. And we've also heard from our parents, can you help us understand Common Core mathematics? Can you help us understand what our kids are seeing in their textbooks? So we will utilize our Mathtosa to provide Common Core math training for parents. So we're listening to parents, we're sending out surveys to teachers, and we now have data. So I think the next slide, any questions? It's hard to see right there, but online there is in orange there the website to Math Expressions. If the board, parents, community want to learn more about the K-5 adopted curriculum, there's videos and parent support tools as well. And then next month we look forward to bringing our 612 mathematics achievement report as well.
Any discussion or comments? I have a question. First of all, I wanted to know, when you're talking about reteaching and then summer school, is there anything going on in the classrooms across the district where they take a test and you get your analysis back of where they made their errors? Are they retaught at that point instead of waiting until the end of summer and given the option of retesting to see if they've got it?
At the elementary level, actually I'll speak K-12, we're not there yet. We now have data in the system. I know that at many of our elementary schools, they do use formative assessment, quizzes, chapter quizzes in the curriculum to reteach. At many of our schools, they pull small groups during the school day to do that. But are we at the point where we're truly using data teams and the assessments, the analysis from this assessment? Not yet. What we do know, there's also quick quizzes. So they are using a lot of formative assessment in the curriculum. What I was saying though, and Jerry, you're right on, is that we know that students don't learn at the same rate. Students don't learn at the same time. And for some of our students, it just takes a little longer. And we're exploring options. at all grade levels. We're looking at report card grades, E's and F's, assessment scores, and we firmly believe that students need to have the opportunity to retest. After we have the opportunity to reteach. And if we truly believe in standards-based grading, and we truly believe that not all kids learn at the same time, that some kids need a little more time, a little extra scoop of instruction before school, after school, during the school day, why wouldn't we give them the opportunity to show what they know? So we're moving in that direction. We're not there, but I will say, yet.
Okay, because it just seemed like waiting and doing the summer school, if they are falling behind all the way, that retesting will show if they've
I wouldn't say we're waiting. I think, I'll speak, I have elementary folks in the room and they're nodding their heads. Yes, we are reteaching and using the assessments that are given in class.
So they have a chance to retest at some...
We reteach. I'm not confident to say, and I'll have to get back to you, at all grades in elementary. Are we re-administering the unit assessment? I would need to get back to you. But are students given the opportunity to relearn? Absolutely.
I like the way you're going through the retesting because we've shown in high school how important that is for them to relearn and retest right then so they can see, teacher can see ready.
Standards-based grading. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And just kudos for your data person right there. It's great to see you working with you.
Yeah, and our teachers are doing a wonderful job. Like I said, they're administering these assessments, they're putting the data into the system. Our principals are leaning in. We have Mrs. Stone, Mrs. Donahue here, Jeff Robinson in the back of the room, and they're printing out those reports and they're sharing them with teachers and sharing the reports in TOMS, our state assessment system. And I know Jeff Robinson up at the Dell had a data meeting and he handed out data and said, okay, teachers, here are the areas that our students are deficit in. What are we going to do? And teachers were leaning in and saying, we need to reteach this. Our kids didn't get this the first time. So it's starting.
Can we get some samples of these math books? Because I saw a sample of one of the math books and it looked like reading a novel. It's not what we experienced growing up. I mean, you look on 3 pages, and this is a student's book where you had to read so much that by the time you got to the problem, even I was confused, and it was like the 5th grade or the 6th grade
Course
level.
1 CPM 6th
yes,
grade.
I think we need to understand what we're expecting of our students, and maybe our data should also be alongside how we're scoring in the English part, because really to read those math books, I think might be part of the problem. Is maybe not be the math problem itself, but getting to the math problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can provide samples of, maybe a K, a 3, and a 5, a course 1 at the middle school, a course 3, 8th grade, and then a Math 1 and a Math 3 textbook to give a sampling of the different grade levels. I'll also send out internet links, because on the CPM website, as well as the Math Expression website, they have a sampling of student lessons. Math Expression has it for 2nd grade and 5th grade. And on the College Preparatory Mathematics website that we use for 6th and 12th grade, you could go in and see sample problems. And parents, there's parent help and homework help. And if you don't know how to do the problems, you click and they'll give you a hint on how to solve the problem. You still don't get it, it'll give you another hint, and then it'll give you the answer. So I can provide those resources. Math looks a lot different. And the expectations for mathematics, it's a whole different ballgame now.
I have a question in regards to summer courses. Not the summer courses, go back to the last slide, please, if you can. Okay, summer school basketball classes. Okay. So, in regards to that, how do we recommend or engage districts how do we recommend students for this type of summer schedule? Are they just pretty unsatisfactory performing students, or are they pretty average ones?
This is the first year that we're going to expand out math support classes. My thinking is we're going to look at students who are behind, who have some deficit skills first to try to close that gap. We do offer a summer science academy, summer science camp that has math integrated, and that's for incoming second, third, fourth, and fifth, and that program is open to all. Our thoughts right now for this first year of offering math interventions and these bridge courses, in between that it'll be for students that you see scoring at the red and yellow grade levels.
And have you also looked into how still teaches math, because their CAS scores were really good.
Grace Hill, Riddell, those are outliers. We have Mary and Jeff here, and working with grade levels and teachers to identify best practice. And that's where the benefit of a structured walkthrough protocol, like instructional rounds, where you go around from school to school around a problem of practice. To what extent and how are students engaging in mathematical discourse? To what extent and how are students deconstructing word problems? And you go and you gather data on what that looks like in the classroom, and you trend it. So you're right on. We need to get into schools. We need to get into grade levels that have extremely high, that are exceeded. When you look at Liddell and Graceville, definitely in some of the grade levels, their grade levels outscore many of the elementary school districts in this county. Outscore school districts in this community. We have grade levels at our schools that do not reflect the numbers up there. I will provide those resources. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Bennett, for being here today, and she really has her pulse on the curriculum and the data, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Ms. Shefferly, Ms. Bennett as well. Also, one of the things I want to say, I think Ms. Shefferly kind of said that, you know, our teachers are working extremely hard. It's not that we're not working hard enough. We need to work smarter with the data, use it to our benefit. And I also talked to Ms. Shefferly about it in an upcoming board meeting to bring, and I think I said this once before, scores of like districts to do a comparison to see where Santa Paula sits with like districts. So we can bring it back to a future board meeting.
Yes, and I used the word stigma earlier today about mental health. Perhaps math expressions will help us remove the stigma from math. Maybe one day. Really, because right away people start reacting to math. Maybe it doesn't have to be that way if it's presented in a context where you can understand how it's applied. So thank you very much. Okay, information items, 8A.
So at this time, we have the 2018-2019 LCAP update, and Ms. Shefferly each month has given an update with the meetings that have gone on with the LCAP committee. So Ms. Shefferly.
Thank you. Our next LCAP advisory committee meeting is February 25th. On February 6th, we had our first LCAP student forum at Santa Paula High School for our Santa Paula High School and Renaissance High School students to provide us input on how we can help improve student achievement, attendance, and overall school learning. And we will be providing the board with all of the student responses from our student forums. But just initial kind of broad strokes of what our students shared with us at Santa Paula High School is they're looking for more academic support. Can we provide tutoring within the school day? Breaks, lunch, within the day? What about a study hall? They're asking for more electives, more foreign language courses. Chicano Studies, I know that Ventura College offers one after school. So they're looking for those ethnic studies, the diversity courses being integrated into our curriculum. They're asking for more college and career opportunities, more field trips to universities, more guest speakers, increase the frequency of our career days. They're looking for more college courses. Can we offer more college courses on our campus? They're asking for more expansive summer school courses. Better food. They ask, we have Starbucks and smoothies every morning. That would help them. They also said, can we just start school later? 8 o'clock is too early. What about at least 8:30 and give us a longer passing period? Expand band. Music program is very important to our kids. We had multiple students ask for that. Can we arrange to have personal meetings with our teachers? They want more one-on-one time. I mentioned study hall. I'm just sharing responses that had multiple student responses. Air conditioning in all of the classrooms and maintenance throughout the school. Better bathrooms, more janitors. And again, we're compiling this data. I will share it all. The board will get copies of all of the student responses. If you would like to experience one of those, we have our Isabel Middle School Student Forum on February 20th from 2 to 3 p.m. in the cafeteria. And again, like our student rep said, we're also having LCAP meetings at our school sites to get feedback from our parents. What we do at the LCAP Advisory Committee is we will bring all of this feedback to the LCAP Advisory Committee and able to provide the board with recommendations for future actions and services. So we are entering the feedback portion of LCAP and then we'll report it out.
Can I make a comment now? Mrs. Shefferly just gave us information in regards to what the students want for this LCAP. And I think that we as a board need to actually listen to everything she just said, because we're making decisions coming up in the next couple of months in regards to spending a lot of money for certain projects, certain areas of needs. So I would like to charge your board with to highly consider what the student responses are saying when we come back to us and we make those decisions.
Thank you. Okay. 8B, school site grade configuration. And we have several speaker forms. And we also have some speaker forms on a later agenda item, several of them. So I will hold you to the 3 minutes, okay? Because we have numerous speakers. Okay. The first speaker is Ana Arroyo for 8B.
I'd like to congratulate the board and staff for providing a survey for 5th grade parents to add 6th grade back to the elementary. As many of you know, I have a 21-year-old, 17-year-old, and 11-year-old, and I've been asking for that for many years. I was fortunate enough to go to a school where we did 6th grade, and as a parent, I think our kids are not ready for a middle school at 6th grade. Emotionally, I think a lot of parents would agree that we would like to keep our kids and not have to deal with teenage issues. I hope you listen to the parents and thank you. The only thing is I know the benefits of middle school where clubs, leadership, things like that were offered. And I'm sure you guys can do things like that and add clubs. My daughter came to Glen City one year and they had a Bible class. That was the best thing. I made her go. She's like, oh, it's like going to catechism again. And those are positive clubs. Leadership, I believe some elementaries have it. I hope we add that back to the elementaries so that prepares them for middle school and high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Dobby.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Dobie. I am
ELD, language arts, and history teacher, Isabel. The argument's been presented to us that we need to move the 6th grade students to the elementary sites because of facilities usage. I'm here today to advocate for the educational advantages of having 6th graders at the middle school, which should be our priority. I think we can all agree that education is changing. Gone are the days of finger painting your way through kindergarten, using the card catalog at the library, and graduating from high school, having a number of decent job opportunities in front of you. With our current system of education, we see kindergartners leaving kinder as readers, students using electronic books in the library, and having no idea what a card catalog is. And middle schoolers making plans for and even beginning to visit colleges, knowing that a high school diploma will never be enough for a job that pays a decent livable wage. We have accelerated our schooling to meet with the high stakes demands as we are expected to have our students ready for the global marketplace to be critical thinkers and innovators. This daunting task begins in kindergarten and is accelerated in middle school, where we expect 11-year-olds to be able to analyze the Odyssey and not a watered-down version, and to find correlation between portions of the book of Exodus and our current legal system in America. We expect our students to be able to access text and understand ideas that every adult in this room wasn't even exposed to until maybe high school, and most likely in college. In order to guide our students in this task, we must provide effective and interesting lessons with just the right amount of scaffolding to ensure their success and continued interest in this way of learning and collaboration with others. We teach them how to engage in academic conversations that most adults would struggle to do, argue their opinion with respect to others, and apply their knowledge in innovative ways. These types of lessons take time and a lot of training for educators to successfully deliver. We spend hours planning and preparing lessons, altering them constantly to meet the ever-changing needs of our students, bouncing ideas off of our many colleagues. Much of this is on our own personal time or during our prep periods, since we only have 1 hour of collaboration time each week. Additionally, we have been extensively trained, 1 year missing more than 20 work days attending professional developments. For the teachers that teach 6th grade, this process of planning lessons, this level of rigor is required for the 3 subjects we teach. What concerns me most about this move of 6th graders is that they will not receive the same rigorous lessons and expectations because it's simply impossible to be able to plan and execute lessons at this level when there are 3 additional subjects to prep for and the loss of the teacher prep period. Also, how will the 6th grade teachers at the elementary site collaborate with the 6th grade teachers at the middle school? I know I only have a few seconds, but you let the other lady go over, and I really would like to finish if that's okay.
We do have many speakers, so please, if you would finish up, we would appreciate it.
Okay. I just had an example of the different kinds of questioning at the 6K6 curriculum versus a 6A curriculum. There's a huge difference between the two. As 6th grade teachers use our multiple subject credentials and training to help transition the students to the middle school expectations, beginning the year with a lot of scaffolding and slowly removing it as the year progresses. I implore you to consider the equity issue, this separation of some 6th graders at elementary sites and some at middle school. Are we providing equal access? Are we doing what is in the best interest of the students educationally? Are we considering the vast knowledge of the educators that work daily with our middle school population? Have we considered the many curricular, extracurricular opportunities that are provided at the middle school? Will elementary 6th grade teachers have clubs on their campus, an award-winning band? Will elementary...
Please finish up.
Okay. And I hope that before any changes are made, all areas of concern are considered.
Thank you, Cynthia Martin.
First, thank you for giving us a chance to give our input. I hope there will be a continued emphasis on collaboration between all stakeholders as this discussion moves forward. I'm Cynthia Martin. I'm a teacher at Isabel. I teach 7th grade. The transition from elementary to middle school is definitely an important topic for our consideration. We all want to do what is best for our students. Our sixth grade teachers at Isbell do an amazing job of helping our students make this transition. And the students themselves take some time to become accustomed to the new challenges at middle school. This process takes time, and our students always rise to that challenge. But the advantage they have at Isbell is, as has been previously stated, our administrators, our counselors, our extracurricular activities, our elective options. All of these benefits must be provided to all students. My concern as a 7th grade teacher is that there will be a disparity between the group of students who are retained at the elementary school sites. Although our staff will obviously continue to guide them wherever our staff are, the students will be at a social disadvantage compared to their peers who have already made the full transition in 6th grade. I know that all of our teachers will continue to support our students at all school sites, and I hope this discussion continues to include parents, teachers, and administrators. Thank you.
That's the last of our speaker forms on this agenda item, so I will now ask Mr. Ford for direction.
Excuse me? I turned in the form? For this subject right here for the...
What's your name?
I'm sorry?
What is your name?
Doug Johnston? For the...
Here it is.
AP.
I apologize.
No worries.
Doug Johnston. Thank you.
So easy to deal with. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to come speak. I am here tonight to ask the board to keep our district 6th graders at Isbell. I teach 6th grade, and every year on the first day of school, I'll ask the 6th graders, because they're all funneling in from all of our elementary schools, how many of you would really like to go back to your elementary schools? And at first they're really reluctant to raise their hands and say, you're not going to offend me. You know, just be honest. And you see the hands starting to go up. And usually on that first day, about 90% of the kids that are raising their hands. And then 2 weeks later, I ask the same question. And maybe you see 1 or 2 hands because the kids are saying, Mr. Johnson, we like it here, we're comfortable. You see the anxiety that they have is dissipated. And they're part of our family. They really, you know, accepted Isbell and enthusiastic learners, and it's a great place for the kids. And in addition to teaching language arts and ancient civilization at Isbell, I teach an elective called College and Careers Pathways. And we've been working for 3 years to really build this program up. And this year, along with Gladys Orozco, I went to training with her to become a first aid instructor. We're teaching 6th graders first aid and CPR right now. And these are essential emergency situations that these kids we're preparing for, and they might actually save a life one day. And can you imagine how empowering that is for our 6th graders to be able to do that? And I'm worried that if our 6th grade teachers and kids are not at Isbell, that this might be a program that gets tossed by the wayside just when we're really starting to gain traction. So I would hope that, you know, that's considered as we move forward investigating this proposed change. I got a little story, a little confession to give you folks tonight. I'm concerned about some of our teachers, or myself included, if I had to start teaching Common Core math, for example, because I've been teaching language arts and ancient civilization for a long time, and I subbed for Miss Bazzani one day, and I thought it was a pretty easy problem to solve for the kids. It was dividing improper fractions. And was I shocked to learn that we don't call them improper fractions anymore. And
I was going to show them how easy it was, and the kids goes, "No, Mr. Johnson, this is just wrong." And it's not the way. You need to use a generic rectangle. Anyway, it was tough for me to understand, and the bottom line is, it takes a couple, 2 or 3 years of training, and our math teachers have already gone through that in order to teach it effectively. We're not there. We haven't been trained in that at all. So I hope you would consider these when you make your decision. That's my plea tonight to the board. Thank you.
Mr. Cora.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say I want to thank the Isabel staff, because I had a very, I want to call it a very productive meeting with, I would say, probably about 15 to 20 of them at Isabel School a couple of weeks ago, just as the survey went out. So I want to also thank Ms. Arroyo for her comments as well. So just to give the board a reminder of, we've been talking about a couple of different things. One, what is best for students? That's always our top priority. Secondly, we've talked about how do we maximize the elementary school site buildings that we have, because we have some small elementary schools. And thirdly is how do we decrease the enrollment at Isabel School that has just under 1,300 middle schools, which is a lot. There's a lot of pros and cons. As I met with the Isabel staff, they brought up a lot of really good valid points. I give them a lot of credit for giving me some things to think about, some of which were discussed this evening, so I appreciate that. The results came back. I honestly thought when we sent it out, I thought they were going to be overwhelming in favor of keep my 5th grade child at the elementary school site. When you put the scores together with all 6 elementary schools, it came out basically 60-40 in favor of keeping them at the elementary site. If you pull out Grace Steele and Kevitt, the 2 schools that they have no room to keep their children at, if you pull those 2 out and just then have Barbara Webster, Blanchard, Glen City, and Bedell, it ends up being 70-30. Still not overwhelming, but positive. So with that, I've had some conversations not only with the Isabel staff, but also conversations with cabinet. I've also had some conversations with some of our elementary principals, and there's enough for me to put the brakes on and say, let's hold on. There's a lot more things that have to happen, a lot more discussions that we need to do. I'm not a big believer in jumping into something until you've done all your homework. I think the surveys were a good start. Obviously, we have some support from parents, but again, before something like this is moved forward with, a lot more work has to happen. So with that being said, I want to continue looking forward. A couple other things there's a lot of variables that are still out there that we need to discuss. We have the harvest at Limonera. What's going to happen there? We're still in negotiations with them. The other idea is, do we move to a KA? Because the one thing that I will say that really stuck with me with the conversation with the Isabel staff is we keep them at the elementary school for 1 year. Meanwhile, some other students go to Isabel for their 6th grade. And is that the best? So again, there's still a lot more questions that we need to answer, but it has started the discussion. And again, the thought is, do we look at potentially a K-8 on this side of town, a K-8 on the other side of town? So it's not something to jump to right away. A lot more discussion. And the one thing that I heard several times, please include everyone as you continue to discuss and move forward. So I don't think it should be an idea that's dead in the water, but I think it should be something that we should continue to discuss. And look at all different options before we move forward. And just to clarify, Mr. Johnson, it's not an action item tonight, so the board is not making a decision. This was just discussion. I wanted to share publicly the results and kind of where we're at with the whole concept. So questions from the board?
The first question I have is in regards to if we are bringing it back for discussion again, can we actually get a survey out to all parents of the district? Because or just, whoever has students K through 5, because their kids are eventually going to make the move to Isabel. So I'd like to include all parents in the discussion for the surveys, not just the 5th grade parents. And secondly, I'd just like to say that we have amazing teachers at Isabel. We have amazing programs that we started up at Isabel, and I would like to see equality for all students in 6th grade to be able to get the same access that they have at Isabel. So I would like also in our discussions and in this parent surveys and all that stuff is information to parents about what they're going to not necessarily lose at Isabel, but what they won't have in regards to keeping their students in 6th grade at the local elementary school.
What would be different if they stayed at the elementary school?
I appreciate you taking into account all of these things. I survived the same discussion many years ago when Tina's aunt was on the board, and the meeting was 400 to 500 people. It was about the same issue, moving 6th grade back to the elementary. I really do think that we need to make the decision when we have all the answers. And again, it's for the best of the students. Middle schools were originally made because they built a new high school and then they had this old building. So, okay, well, let's make a middle school now because they built the building. So we need to do our research on that. And as you said, there's many moving parts in what is East Area 1 going to do to us, what is our student enrollment. I think it's for trustee election areas, but I think the demographics will help us look at that. And I really do think this whole Common Core education may be the big stickling point. I'm not sure that we can move 6th grade teachers back to have them teach all of that. If we do, that's going to have training also. So again, like you said, it's not dead in the water, but I think there might have to be more planning into it.
Thank you. And I know the other thought is, if it were to happen, you really wouldn't want to do unless you have 2 teachers come together and co-teach. Other questions from the board or thoughts?
Well, I think you've done a good job in explaining all the parameters that will go into the decision making. I think that we also need to, our administrators, I'm sure, might have a different perspective on it. I mean, if you're in charge of 1,300 students, that's quite a number. So we need to look at everybody's input, administrators, teachers, parents, and I think we're far from reaching any conclusions at this point. It's just getting the idea out there, putting our feet on the
And I completely agree, and I thank the parents for their responses, because it just gives us an idea of kind of where we're at to start. Thank you.
Okay, action items. I would like to propose to the board that we... Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm really ahead of myself here. California School Board Association policy updates. Mr. Koras?
Yes. At this time, I would like to just present to the board we have first reading of multiple board policies. The one that I want to make sure that I bring to the attention of the board that really needs to be brought back by staff, the board policy 6146.1 high school graduation requirements. It does not really, CSBA, as you know, CSBA sends policies to districts, and they're usually kind of boilerplate. So this high school graduation policy does not really meet the needs of our district. So that is one, it doesn't reflect our requirements here. So that's one that I need to make sure that we bring back separately for the first reading after we take a closer look at that and make it match what our requirements really are.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cora. Going on to 8D, 2018-19 Comprehensive School Safety Plans.
Mr. Cora.
Yes, Mr. Shevsky has worked with Mr. Arjun, District Safety Manager and School Site Principals, to prepare the 2018-19 Comprehensive School Safety Plans for review by the Governing Board as an informational item. These plans will be brought back as an action item at the March meeting. I was mentioning earlier, there was a news release back last year, March 2nd, 2018, which talked about, was brought to our attention about the local school districts misapprove school safety plans in its district by March 1st. So I contacted Attorney Peter Stubbs, Deputy General Counsel from the California Department of Education. I thought I'd go straight to the source. And I asked them about, can you clarify March 1st? Is March 1st board approval, school site council approval? So I won't read the whole email, but basically, given that schools have until March 1st to review and update their plans, it may be that district approval will necessarily occur after March 1st. Districts are encouraged to approve it before or by March 1st, but they understand it's really the approval of the plans by the school site council that has to happen by March 1st. So, and again, I'll share this email with the board. So, at this time, we'll take questions regarding the school safety plans, either Mr. Arjun, myself, or Mr. Shevsky. One of us should be able to answer. But we have some principals in the audience that can maybe answer the questions as well.
Yeah, in the LCAP, goal number 4 is implement safety measures across school sites. So we want to make it very clear to parents, staff, community that school safety is and should be a very high priority. There's a couple things in the plans that one of the areas that you might want to check. I know these plans are templates and they're done by outside sources, but I don't want them to be things like our master facility plan where it gets done and then it gets put on the shelf. Because when there is a crisis, you do need them. So they need to be almost living documents. So one of the things is that it is not Community Memorial Hospital and the phone number is not correct. We are Santa Paula Hospital and it's under Ventura County. And it should have probably a regular phone number that they can use. So that was one area. Also, the action plans, I would like to see us, because in these safety things about being on the shelf, there's action plans at each of the sites. Like at the high school, they wanted to use explorers for crosswalks. Well, that's going to have to be looked into. These are students. These are liability issues, and the fact is that if you've read the newspaper, 2 or 3 local crossing guards have been hit by cars recently. So these have to be not templates, but they have to be realistic safety plans. But I also think bringing it to an action plan where they go through and say, what at these school sites can we do or are we doing? I mean, they're embedded in 116 pages. Do we actually have someone looking at some of these suggested action plans? I know in the LCAP last year we put more money into safety, but what do we as a board or the community, what have we told them that we're doing for the safety of our students? Another thing that I noticed is in the high school, when you have these large crises like lockdown, and heaven help us if we did have a really horrendous safety issue. I'm not sure it's good to put a district person. Jeff Arjun is listed as a search and rescue. We are a unified district. He is a district employee, and there's 9 schools, so he really shouldn't be tied to one school because he is our main liaison between the Red Cross, between fire, between police. So for him to all of a sudden have to be assigned to one school, it's not fair to the other 8 schools. So I think they need to look at that one to pull him out of any site actual assignment.
I think the last comment you made. The last comment you made, I think we made those corrections before it came to board here. So in the SEMS organizational chart where it did list some district staff employees as search and rescue or some other various duties, we did change those names and work with and change them to site personnel.
Well, on the high school one,
If
his
we
name
miss
is
one-
still there, so
Okay.
it's on search and rescue. See, that's what I'm saying is that the templates, I'm not sure we're really looking at them. They're an exercise, but when it comes to the safety and the life of our students, it needs to become a living document. The other one, I was really, and again, they're templates, but I really think, and we'll see it later in the board, is that I was really surprised that only one school now has added anti-bullying to its actual safety plan, making it a priority, and that kind of bothers me. There's anti-bullying in other sections of it, but it's not. It doesn't get the act. So that's why I'm saying, what kind of templates are these? Do people just check off? Do they really know what's in their templates? I don't think any of our schools. I think every school, and we know as a board that we're anti-bullying, and tonight will show that. So that was just kind of an ending. And I'd also like to see, again, to kind of bring them up to date, because there's no mention, there's nothing about the Titan. And again, if we're not going to use the program, then I say just, we bail on it and we just say that it's over with. But we don't even know if it worked because it's not rolled out. Students don't have access, parents aren't on the list. So again, maybe bring them up to date, and maybe it doesn't fall in the actual safety plan. But when there's a crisis, we want to use every resource we have for the safety of our students, staff, to assure the community. And then also, you asked about the board approval. Most of these have not been approved by the police department, and that's part of the component. So I don't know when they need to approve it also.
If I could address one item Ms. Jasewski and Mr. Arjun and I talked about, similar to what you're talking about right now, Ms. Colbeck, and that is at one of our upcoming leadership team meetings, we're going to do it as a group and go through it together. I think it'll help the principals as we go through it as a group before it goes off to the third party for cleanup. So we talked about that just the other day, for next school year.
And I just want to reiterate, I think it's important we take those action suggestions, because they're very interesting, and some are really good, but some have been on these templates, like the thing at Isabel, we all know the entrance is quite unsecure, is the right word. And that's been in these plans for maybe 4 or 5 years. We put money, we've done this, we haven't done anything about it. And I don't want to be one to say, oh, it's been in our plan, but we didn't do anything about it, knowing that that's the kind of thing. So I'm wondering if we have an action plan, how we're going to adjust it. And when we're talking about bonds and things like this, I think these should be on our list, because again, safety is a priority.
It is our #1 district goal. Any other questions from other board members? Because again, we know they need work, and we're going to put work on them because it's the #1 district priority. And every time I go to Isabel and I walk into the front office,
That's one of the areas.
yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go on to action items. And since we have so many speakers for 9E, I would like to get the okay from this board to move item 9E in front of donations. Put that first on the action items. Is there anybody opposed to that on this board? Okay, with that, then we will go straight to 9E. It's 9E, which is the Coalition for Family Harmony. So I'm going to start with Dr. Cynthia King, because she's been waiting so long.
I want to quickly say to the speakers that was my oversight on not seeing those that were checked to speak publicly. So to those who played all this time, I apologize.
There are at least 5 of us on this topic. So, thank you for hearing our testimony. And as a proud parent, I don't know if you kid and mother-in-law of that kid's awesome, wonderful partner, I want to say that this is really near to my heart. Also, I want to speak as a faculty member in the communication department at Cal State Channel Island and say that in that capacity, I always try to get students to write about their personal application to the topics that we're studying at that point in the semester. And as such, I cannot tell you how many papers I've gotten from LGBTQ students, university students, who have told about the harassment and the bullying and the violence and abuse that they received and the lack of support from school people. They wound up feeling really traumatized. And so because of that, I'm really proud of you for agreeing to even consider having this program, and really hope that you'll approve it. The other thing I want to say about the Coalition for Family Harmony specifically is that I've had the great good fortune of having Dr. Sandy Phillips from the Coalition be a guest speaker in my classes. And I've also attended several of the sessions that they put on at their office. They are excellent. I learned so much. And I figure if I learned a lot, there's a chance that other people could really appreciate it as well. So I'm absolutely in favor of engaging the coalition, not just having this kind of training, but engaging the Coalition for Family Harmony to do it. And in fact, I wish that every school district in Central Iowa would be considering this at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Hillary Carson.
And Hillary had to leave and her public comment was missed.
Well, it does say agenda 9B, so
It also has public comment checked.
thank you very much.
On behalf of Hillary Carson, a parent of future Santa Paula Unified students, I'd like to fully support agenda item 90. I hope this is just the beginning. Culture change is hard and takes concentrated attention over time. I look forward to the positive efforts of Coalition for Family Harmony and encourage the board to support and hear about their efforts as they roll out services. Thank you. That's Hillary Carson.
Thank you. Angel Castagnoni.
Hello, my name is Izzy. I live in Cairo and I go to school in Fillmore, but my roots here are in Santa Paula. I went to school in Blanchard from kinder to the 4th, went to school here in Glen City for the 5th, and went to Isabel for 6 and 7. And I would just like to say how happy I am that the Santa Paula School District is making this decision. And I feel like you can all be the leading example in the county for doing this. I would also like to add that with the Coalition of Family Harmony, you will be in good hands with the cultural competency training. Actually, and I'm actually like really thankful that I got to know Dr. Sandy Gomez and myself. She comes to the teen center in Fillmore, once LFS, great teen center. She comes and talks about her work, and she's like overall just fantastic. And I can only hope that the teachers that are going through this training also put in effort as well, because it is a great thing. And and put in effort to utilize the training. Because in Fillmore, we have offered free cultural competency training to the school. One teacher has went, and it's kind of like heart-breaking. Again, I truly do believe that Santa Paula can be the leading example in the county. Times are changing, and it's only smart to go along with the change. I'm pretty sure me in the 7th grade, if this was implemented sooner, that would be a lot more comfortable rather than suppressing it. And if it were to even be implemented in Fillmore, hopefully one day it does, that not only I would benefit, but so many of closeted is a term for a reason, and those who are closeted will benefit deeply as well, because there are students who have made such great relationships with teachers, but it's just a matter of getting these teachers training and informed on what to do with the do's and don'ts and all of that. Thank you again.
Kate English.
Thank you so much to all of you who put in these long hours all the time and don't get thanked enough. And I'm very appreciative. My name is Kate English. I'm a Santa Paula resident for 20 years and the director of One Paula Vest Teen Nonprofit Center in Fillmore. But we have programming here in Santa Paula and in Fillmore for LGBTQ students, and through a deep partnership with the Coalition for Family Harmony. And we have been providing a Wednesday night youth group in Fillmore for about 3 years. And for about a year now, a Santa Paula group that meets in the basement of the Unitarian Church every Friday from 3:30 to 5. And in order to get that group going, the Coalition for Family Harmony director of the LGBTQ programming, which is Dr. Sandy Gomez back there, and she supports our program. She brings in clinical training information to our youth, so suicide prevention, teen dating violence prevention. She makes it relevant to the LGBTQ youth. She helps us deal with parents and train community members when they need training. When we have a crisis or a problem, she comes in. She's really formed an amazing LGBTQ program at the Coalition for Family Harmony, and I'm just here to speak to the deep need for training for teachers. We've been asking students for 5 years, what do you need? And one thing they wanted was support groups, but the main thing that they tell us every year is we need our teachers to be trained in who we are and honoring our identities. And we're, if we're gender expansive, if we're transgender, if we're asexual, there's so many different, and they've got a rainbow, they've got a spectrum, and it's not as, I think it feels daunting to teachers, but it's really not as scary as you think to hear some data, receive some tools, and show up for your students. And they ask us for this over and over. So I'm just here to iterate the need for cultural sensitivity training for teachers, for staff, for administrators, because kids tell us all the time that they don't know who they can go to. We are also facilitating 2 clubs, one club at the Fillmore High School, but we also provide some off-campus support to youth involved in the Gay Straight Alliance Club or the Equality Club at the Santa Paula High School. And whenever a teacher goes away, like Ms. Mondragon, who was helping that club, I'm always like, well, who are you going to ask next to be your advisor? And they're like, we don't know. We don't know who to ask. And that's sad. But they don't know at least like 10 teachers right away. Like, we know these teachers support us. We know these teachers. They don't know. There's no visibility markers, and teachers don't know how to serve these youth. Let's train them. Thank you so much for hearing me.
Al Reese.
Hi, I'm Al Reese, and I'm a student at Santa Paula High School, and I'm an LGBTQ. And basically when I heard this was going on, I was like, finally we're heard. Finally there's some school that cares about how we're being treated and everything. And honestly, from growing up in the school system and stuff, I've never seen a teacher basically like, oh, I'm okay with you being like this, or you're identifying as that. I only know one teacher out of the school system that is really okay with who we are, but not a lot of teachers are like that or announce it. And I had run into a problem a couple days ago, just by walking my dog. And it's just a random person, and he decided it was okay to call me homo. And when I brought it to a teacher today, they said, I don't want to know if it's rude or offensive. I don't want to know it. And so then she was like, oh, maybe that's why you should have somebody to talk to. Well, there's no teachers, no support system really, or to be heard, basically. And I just feel like they want to. I think they're just afraid of like accidentally saying something wrong. But in reality, I think if we were to try and go to these trainings, it would definitely benefit a lot of students, especially middle schools, when they're trying to barely figure themselves out. It would definitely help to have a support system, whether it's a club, teachers, or just a group therapy session, because it would help them discover themselves more, but also not be ashamed or afraid of who they are, because now they have all this widespread and people just being comfortable with who they are, not being afraid, because we have this rule where basically we shouldn't discriminate against sexual orientation and gender expression, but I feel like it's not covered as much. Like, you can show up to school and be like, I'm here, but when you want to show your pride and you want to wear the things you want to wear, it's, should I wear it? Is it going to affect the people around me? Or am I going to hold something on my t-shirt or peers because of the way I want to express myself? And it's honestly just a thought in your head that goes, and you're kind of just scared and timid to be like, well, maybe I should or maybe I shouldn't. And that's it. Thank you.
The last speaker form I have is for Nathan Ramos Rodriguez.
Good to see you all in good terms again. My name is Nathan Ramos Rodriguez. I am from Santa Paula. I grew up from Bar Webster to Isabel Middle School to now Santa Paula High School. I'm a senior and I will be graduating from there. When I heard about this teacher training, I thought, how wonderful. I presided over the Equality Club when it became when it transformed from the Gay Straight Alliance to the Equality Club, and I've seen it transform. But one thing is for certain, it's difficult to find teachers that are willing to outright support us. It is difficult to even find teachers that will stand up against homophobic remarks, stand up against transphobic remarks, because they are scared that they might say the wrong thing. And having this training is crucial for us, especially since we're hearing the population at our school. There's so many students that are actually coming out at younger ages, from freshman year to 8th graders to seniors. We're seeing that, and teachers need to be trained on how to actually handle this, because some teachers are confused, and we need to give those teachers that education in order to be able to handle this, in order to be able to help students with this situation. I had the pleasure to work with the Coalition of Family Harmony, where they have educated our youth and within their LGBT youth group, and we've identified so many issues within the LGBTQ community, such as mental health, teen dating violence, and many more, and we were taught that. And we never knew that, especially with the health curriculum that we were taught as the older generation. It's not as comprehensive towards the LGBT community. Now I know there's a new health curriculum coming in, but right now we need to also teach our teachers about that as well in order for them to handle these situations like this. I grew up within these schools. I've seen homophobia, homophobia and transphobia. I've seen them come out with remarks where teachers don't even call them out because they don't know how to identify them. Students don't know who to go to because they don't know which teacher knows how to handle the situation. My current advisor right now is Calzago. She's a very progressive teacher who cares about us. And it was difficult at first finding a teacher like her, but we found her. And we hope to find more teachers like her for our students, not just for the Equality Club, but for all students. Thank you.
With that, we will get to the topic of the Coalition for Family Harmony. Mr. Corr?
Yes. Before I get started, I want to quickly say that I thoroughly enjoy and I'm intrigued listening to intelligent, passionate students who speak so well publicly. So thank you for those speeches that were given. As part of our ongoing efforts to improve school climates, ensure the safety of all students, and to provide educational opportunities to community members, we would provide support groups, staff training, and parent informational meetings on topics pertaining to the LGBTQ+ community. I want to quickly give Ms. Aguirre public kudos for doing the work to bring the Coalition for Family Harmony forward to the board for consideration and approval. So this time, once you go through motion item.
Do I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion, comments?
I think this goes back to the issue in regards to mental health. Kids need to know that they're supported no matter who or what they identify with. And I think that all teachers should be educated within this program. And I think that Coalition is a wonderful support program and training. So it's nice to see a program finally brought forward for long overdue district.
Thank you, Trustee Luna. Anybody else?
Just like to agree with Mr. Luna, and also if I could ask any training that the board would be able to attend. I'd be very interested.
Yeah, a couple things. I'm going to attend myself. I want to be clear that the training isn't starting with teachers, it's starting with our parents and some of our classified groups, but the plan, and students, and the plan is to eventually have everyone in the district trained. So we will work towards getting to that point. But yes, going back to Ms. Mead, I will attend training myself, so we'll get an invitation, several invitations.
Thank you.
And I think all students need to be represented and in the educational setting, and I think it sounds like this organization will help everybody help us understand all students. So, do I have a vote? Let's do the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to vote yes in favor of that. Okay. So let's go to donations, 9A. Do I have a motion to approve? Second?
I'll second.
Discussion, comments? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? 0. 9B. Count with voting rights at trustee, boundary area demographer. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Kors.
Thank you, Ms. Arias.
Thank you.
So staff recommends that the board review and consider approving the services of cooperative strategies to perform demographic services to aid in the transition from at-large elections to by trustee area elections. Once the board motions first, it's something I have a presenter. Not a presenter, someone who can answer any questions.
I'd like to ask for a motion to approve 9B.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, comments?
Ms. Kodak?
Right. I was wondering how they go about gathering information, because nothing against you and Sherry, or even, although she's from Philmont, we'll give her credit, but is that they don't know our area. So who do they go out to originally to ask? I know they can run the numbers and they can do this, but how do they come and meet with the board, or I don't know.
So perfect introduction. I'd like to introduce partner Larry Furchaw from Cooperative Strategies. So Mr. Furchaw will answer all your questions to how, when, what. So Mr. Furchaw, first of all, welcome. First, I want to say, did you get the question? Okay. Can you speak right into it? Yes, just speak right into it.
All right, I'll link down a little bit. Members of the board, Larry Furchaw, Cooperative Strategies. Very happy to be here and excited for the opportunity to potentially work with the district on this process. What we do and what the law requires actually is 2 public hearings that are known as pre-map public hearings. So prior to us drawing up any scenarios, the district will hold 2 public hearings at board meetings, at which point we'll give a presentation kind of outlining how the process works, what kind of feedback we're looking for, and then open it up for the community and the board to provide input on, we think this neighborhood should be with this neighborhood, we think this would be a good dividing line, we think these are some of the considerations that you should look at. So we'll hold that over the course of 2 board meetings. We'll hold those public hearings before we go ahead and draw any of the maps. Once any maps are drawn, then there will be at least 3 public hearings at school board meetings where people can provide feedback. We can certainly make changes to the maps during that process. Sometimes it's helpful to actually see some scenarios. Once you see something, you know whether you like it or not. You can provide some feedback then as well. But it is an iterative, if I can say that correctly, process where you have scenario 1 and it may morph into scenario 1A or 1B by the time the process is over. But we try to give 3 different or 4 different looks initially of how you can draw these areas up based on dividing up the population equally. And we're doing this process right now for several of your neighboring districts. We did this for Ventura Unified and Oxnard Elementary. We're doing it right now for Moore Park, Conejo, and Queenie. So we're familiar with generally Ventura County, but certainly we know every district is different, and we look forward to getting the input from the community before we start drawing up the maps.
Because it involves the 3 smaller districts that are connected, can we make sure, I know we do, put public notices, but maybe notify each of the superintendents/school boards and let them know specifically about what we're doing because it affects them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I met the other local superintendents, so that's easy. So I heard notify the superintendents. Who else? Or just through the superintendents, they can notify their people?
Their board, just because I think they need to know in case they have input that we don't.
And you are aware we have a new housing development going on. If you don't now, you will.
If you don't now, I will say one of the challenges of doing this process now is we're doing it at the tail end of the last census. So everybody's going to start to be counted in 2020, but this is going to be done in time for the 2020 election. So we have to base everything based on the 2010 census data. That's how we divide the population up equally, understanding that in April of 2020, noses are going to get counted again. We get the data in 2021, so there may have to be some adjustments to your area after the 2020 census and before the 2022 election.
Sounds like you'll be caught somewhere along the line.
At the workshop, they talked about a timeline. Will you be sending that out? Because you have to have all these hearings and we have to be ready before 2020. I think we should have 3 meetings next week.
And working closely with Mr. Furchom, if approved by the board, then we'll be working closely to get that information to the board. Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions from Mr. Furchom?
Just a quick comment. I'm glad we're streaming tonight, so at least there's an opportunity, because I know we have a problem with getting word out to the community on what's going on at school board meetings if they're not here. So that's just an opportunity that we're streaming.
I feel like a celebrity.
Thank you, Mr. Furchom. Thank you, Mr. Furchom. And thanks for hanging tough with us. Appreciate it.
So, all those in favor of action item 9B, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay. Action item 9C, low performing students block grant. Do I have a motion to approve?
Someone.
Second? Do I have a second? Discussion? Discussion, comments?
Or do you want to?
Not if there's no questions. This is the plan for the Work Performance Student Block Grant. So that's it. No question. There you go.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 9D. 360-degree Customer Incorporated Professional Service Agreement for a District Nurse. Do I have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Discussion, comments? Are there any? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 9F. Individual Services Agreement for non-public, sectarian, school agency services, Passport to Adaptive Living Incorporated. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Discussion, comments?
Is there something that I still can't pull up that attachment? So what is this?
Ms. Beard will address this item.
This item is actually individual service agreed upon at an IEP meeting for behavior intervention. It's applied behavior analysis and interventions for extinguishing troublesome behaviors. I'm not sure why the attachment won't open, but it is one-to-one services for one of our students at one of our elementary schools, along with the support that we need for that service provider.
I just didn't know what it was. I never heard of it.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 9H. G. I'm trying to get us out of here. Authorization to proceed with bid process for various facility projects. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Discussion, comments?
Can I ask, you put amounts in here for total cost, and I understand that. But is this an approval of just to proceed with the bidding process and then each bid has to come back? Because I'm real hesitant to pass something that, sure, just spend $2 million.
Mrs. Shesky?
So this is just the authorization to go to bid. We were planning to lump to get better pricing. If the board would like to direct us in a different direction, I'm happy to accept that direction. There are some roofs at Isabel that we will probably put as additives if we did a lump sum, so that we wouldn't have to proceed if other things were needed with that building. And then the two, we will plan to go forward with the asphalting as together.
And my hesitation again is that I was at the workshop and I know the scope of work that needs to be done. There's no attachment here, and for the public, for us to just approve a blanket $2 million, so really we're just going out to bid for these projects, is that correct?
Right, and
I would bids will come back.
Right, but I need to know if I'm bidding them multiple projects as one, which the theory would be we would get better pricing, or individual projects by roof.
And which projects are these again?
So this is the asphalt
right.
And the roofing. So the asphalt will be at two separate schools, Bedell and Webster. Sorry. Okay, Bedell and Webster. And then a number of schools for roofing based off of the roofs that were identified as either failed or 1 year of failing.
And the restoration does include just terminology for roofing?
Right. So we're either going to repair, which would be restoration, or replace of the roof. Yeah, depending on the severity of the roof and the type of material, the degree that it's failing.
Okay.
So they all have, a lot of them are re-roofs, but there are some listed as restores, but the majority is a total re-roof. And there's a list of about 15 roofs that fall within that scope of that 2.7 million.
So, as the sentence reads, it just says to proceed with bid process. So you would come back to us and let us know what that is.
Right. So if we were to get approval to move forward with the bid, we would do the formal bid process, get our bids, open them, and then come back to the board for approval of the lowest responsible bidder and award the projects accordingly.
But you're going out for the bid, as you said, as a group, so the bid could come back at 1.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. So that's all I needed to know. That's the real gist of it.
The intent was to go lump all the roofs together as one bid, all the asphalt as one bid, so a total of 2 bids, roofing and asphalt. I will be working with Doug and Kevin. We are going to be identifying, the plan was to identify a number of roofs as deductive or additive to the bid, so it means we wouldn't have to proceed with that portion, and they would bid accordingly. So, for example, 10 of the 5 we're definitely going to do, and we'd like you to bid the additional 5, and we could add as we like and award the bid accordingly. So there are some roofs on this list that we may not proceed with at this time. And those would be the roofs that we intended to have as additive or deductive in the bid process.
And I know you're an expert, so because of it becomes apparent that the bidding process for one bidder the scope isn't there, because we have roofing at one school that is handmade tile, and we have roofing at other schools which is flat with sand on top or whatever. So anyway, and also we had suggested at the workshop that we encourage local bidders. So I don't know. And that's another thing is the timing. If you go out for one bid with one company, then will that put the timing way down, because would they be big enough to go to all these schools at once?
One reason why it's on the board agenda tonight is so that we can get ahead of everybody else that's going out for bid for summer projects, because the hope is to start to get this work done, a majority complete during the summer period. A lot of construction companies will subcontract, and so they'll figure a way to get the job done. Yeah.
I'm just curious.
And again, they would, if there were roof materials that they're not, they would probably subcontract other contractors for that work.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 9H, Structural Engineering Services Contract. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second it. Discussion, comments. If there are none, we'll go to vote. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I guess so. So this is just the basic for Islam.
Yes, this is, and I'll let Mrs. Shevsky speak a little bit more about it, but this is the group coming in and taking a second look after the 2011 report and taking a look and see where we're at and what needs to happen at Isabel School, particularly with the main building.
So the first report in the past identified that there were some seismic potential issues. And this is going to take a deeper look as to, okay, it's going to be more in depth, that's why the cost is what it is. And from that report, we'll get a risk assessment, we'll get facts and figures on probability, as well as steps moving forward, whether, how we need to address those issues. And all that will come from this report. And depending on that, then we progress through the process.
So it sounds like if we approve this today, we should have something by maybe the end of March?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 9I, School Facilities Needs Analysis Contract. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second? Second. Discussion, comments?
If I can, I'd like to share some information on this. The purpose of this analysis is to justify applicable alternative level 2 school facility fees that Santa Paula Unified School District is able to levy on residential development. Mr. Shevsky and I have been working, as a matter of fact, tomorrow will be, is Andy still in the audience? No, he left. We will be notifying the city tomorrow in writing to go over and let them know where we're going. And I believe there were some talking points for the board to just kind of review. Again, this is to move forward with the process of looking at level 2 fees.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 9J, second reading and adoption, Board Policy 51.13, Response to Immigration Enforcement. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, comments? Did you want to expound on that, or,
Yes.
self-explanatory?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay. Consent calendar. Do I sound excited? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve 10A to 10I.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes for consent calendar 5-0. Board member comments and requests. Mr. Luna.
Let's see. I want to thank all the people who came out tonight and made public comment. It's always good to hear from the public. And I just want to say once again to my board to listen to what the students want from LCAP. We are going to be making those hard decisions coming up, and I want you to think about the overall student population in regards to what they need and what they're asking from us. So thank you very much for allowing us to take this time to speak.
Ms. Coleman.
And again, I can't reiterate enough how school safety is a huge priority. And tonight we encompass many areas of it with the school safety plan, training. We saw about our district counselors, the counselors at the school, and we really don't know how effective they are until there is a moment of crisis. And we saw that time and again in the last couple of weeks, so we really appreciate that. And also, as we're moving forward with spending $2 million here, $2 million there, we had talked about at the workshop to maybe come up with a way to keep the public informed, and streaming is a good way, but if there's some way, I'm kind of a Excel kind of person, you know, the project over here, how much it's going to cost, what fund it's coming from, and if there's some way we can constantly let people know how we're going to be spending their tax dollars, because we couldn't be doing this without the support of all the taxpayers in Santa Paula.
Gary.
Thank you. I have several comments tonight. The first one, I was honored to attend the Migrant Speech and Debate tournament. I was so impressed with our students that we sent. There were 21 migrant students that represented the Santa Paula Unified School District, and 18 of them placed. was amazing. The three that did not were first-time students. So it was wonderful. I want to thank Laura Sandoval, Rocio Bravo Chavez, Gracia Garcia, who I believe is the student teacher at the high school and doing a terrific job, and Sam Zuniga, the coaches. They put in many hours with the students. I learned something going and representing the school district as a board member, to always be prepared to speak, and don't let your mind wander if you're handing out trophies, because you may hand out the wrong one. Lessons learned. Okay, so it was a wonderful opportunity, and they are having the state contest May 4th, and I have some flyers to give to our board members, principals, whoever. They are looking for judges and would love to have Santa Paula represented to represent. Forget it. Would love to have judges from our school district there and community, because it's local and they need lots of judges and we'll have training. I appreciate the live streaming tonight, running campaigning in the city. Lots of residents really requested that, so I hope it continues. I'd really love to call out our staff who attended Judy Nadel's funeral on Sunday. It was amazing to see the support and to have her family know of what a caring school family that she had. It was a wonderful turnout. I want to congratulate Robin on her loss. That was wonderful to see the support of not only our school board, but our community for Renaissance. And I look forward to March 30th, where we have the grand opening for the Science and Ag. Should be a fun day. Thank you.
Pamela. I'd like to recognize someone who's here tonight who came, and I actually don't know his name. I know this is really stupid. Tonight, Brandon Sportel thought he was going to be presenting, and so he asked his assistant. You're a former Santa Paula High School graduate, right? Yeah. And you are currently attending Channel Islands University. And are you in the graduate? Teaching credential. Okay. And he actually helps Mr. Sportel administer with his intervention program. So I just want to thank you for coming tonight and staying this whole time and for helping so much. And I'm really looking forward, I believe it's next month, to seeing Brandon here presenting his intervention program, and maybe you'll be back. So thank you for coming tonight and staying so long. And also I do think it's really important about how we're going to be spending the money. And as we consider these things, it was a strange thing this week. I was reading a book, a friend of mine who's 95 years old, who's a friend of my mom and dad's in Texas. And I was reading the back of it, and on the back it said, you know, we all come from the same place, really. We all live under the same sun. We all have the same experiences, but we think differently about things because of those experiences and because of how we think and how we feel. And so as we make these decisions, I think it's important for us all to remember that. We all have different ideas. We feel differently. We need to listen to what all the needs of the students are. And those experiences that we have do define us and do make a difference as to what kinds of things that we do. I used to tell my students in class, don't be angry with people because they don't think the way you do, because they come from another place than you do. They have different experiences, they've been taught different things. So we all will disagree. And I think as long as we disagree, respecting each other's ideas, I think that will end in a good place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. I wanted to inform the board that I've been selected to be part of a legislation committee. So I'll be flying up to Sacramento Friday, March 1. And what this committee will be, I think we're going to be analyzing pending bills and then coming up with recommended positions on behalf of CSBA. I should say that, yes. And so that sounds really exciting and will put us at the forefront of what the pending legislation is. A second thing I have to share is that I went to Blanchard Library's grand opening, or what was that called? Open house. It was being visited by lots of families, lots of people. I'm really happy to have gone and see the community exploring our library. I even checked out 3 books because they were new. There are new arrivals, so they're the latest books that we have at our library. So it's a great resource, and I'm happy that we have Blanchard Library here in Santa Paula. And on March 4th, the Turk County School Board Association will be holding a dinner meeting on the investment in early education. And the reason I chose to mention it, not only because it's coming up March 4th, but investment is a key word that we need to consider when considering programs to fund. Every student matters. The price matters, but we also have to take it a step further and see just how we can invest in every student that attends our schools. And hopefully this dinner topic, investment in early education, will tell us just why it's so important to reach our students early rather than later. Earlier rather than later. And we have a distinguished panel who will be speaking on the subject. So with that, I would like to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And our next regular board meeting is March 13th. There's a special board workshop March 19th. And if there's nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting at 9:15 p.m. Thank you.